Good evening, Guardians. Yep, you're hearing my voice again, which means that Corey has the night off. As always, I am your host, Josh, and joining me again this week, 2 weeks in a row, is the one, the only, one of our Discord battle masters, raid masters, whatever you want to call him. We love him, even if he has to go buy a new hot water heater. Fox.
Oh my god.
Fox is here.
Yeah.
Fox, tell me, you have gripes with hot water heaters. I am waging a one-man war on Valvoline oil change. It's been an eventful 24 hours for us.
It's been a day. It's been a 2
It's been a
days.
fucking week. It's been a
fucking
fucking week, guys.
It's been a fucking week. I don't wanna live.
That's about how I feel. I was driving yesterday afternoon, and I was going to go grocery shopping. And as I'm pulling into Walmart, I'm going up. There's a little hill you have to go up to get to our Walmart, right? I'm going up it, and it's in the parking lot, and then all of a sudden, my car just stops running.
Oh no.
My car just stops, and I start going backwards slightly. So I hit the brakes, pop my car in the park, and I'm like, okay, looking at the instrument panel, there's nothing. There's no lights or no like warning lights or anything like that. No engine light, nothing. And I'm like, okay, well, this is a new thing. Never seen this before. Meanwhile, I've got Ranger Rick behind me honking his horn and yelling at me when his big ass truck could have gone around me. There were no other cars behind us. There were no cars going in front of me or anything. I was at a T intersection, and there was nobody at all.
It's always the big trucks, man.
Dude, this man finally goes around me, and he had fucking truck nuts. So it just explains so much.
Okay, yeah,
He had truck nuts. He had one of those blue line stickers. It just the whole 9 yards.
It's like owning a Hummer, dude. Like,
oh, dude, the little Peen Patrol was out yesterday, okay? And it's in a fucking Walmart on top of it, right? So I turned my car off and I turned it back on. Like, the warning lights didn't dissuade this guy, right? Turned the car back on, and it seems to be working fine. So I'm like, okay. I'm like, all right, I'm going to go park, and I'm going to see what's going on. I barely got to a parking space before it started doing that again. It just, like, I could just, like, hear it kind of, like, jitter a little, and then it just died.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, no. Oh,
well,
no. So
I've also got car problems.
Freaking out, right?
Yeah.
Like freaking out, like, oh my god, like how expensive is this going to be? Again, looking at my instrument panel, no engine warning lights, no battery warnings, nothing. I was like, all right, there's a Valvoline right across the street. I've taken my car there before. I'll run over there. Got it over there totally fine. And I told him what was going on, and I was like, I know for a fact I'm super overdue for an oil change. I just keep forgetting to bring it in. I was like, let's change the oil. Let's change the air filters out, which I'm pretty sure I've never done in my car. Like, I looked it up real quick, and people said that these are symptoms. Because, like, I would have known if it was the timing belt, I would have known instantly. That's happened to me before.
Mm-hmm.
That's happened to me on the highway before, where my timing belt popped.
Damn.
Yeah. So I'm like, I am well aware of what that feels like. This was not that. And it definitely did not skip, by the way, because I would have known that also. Mm-hmm. So they did that. It seems to be working fine now. We think that I just have like a dying battery, so I need to go get a new battery tomorrow from AutoZone. That was like the most annoying hour of my life, though, like trying to explain to them what I wanted them to do at Valvoline, and they were just like the laziest fucks in the world.
You know who you need? You need Joasis.
Oh, no, listen, I vented my frustrations with him last night, and I was like, I'm complaining about these motherfuckers. How do you complain about a Valvoline anymore? And I was telling him about it. I was like, I'm like on the verge of going full Kevin on these people, okay? I'm very upset. I don't know what to do. What do we call male Karens? Are those Kevins? Are those Keiths? What are they?
I'm pretty sure...
Kyle?
I think it's Kyle, but I like Kevin more. Sounds more like Karen.
I went full Kevin on these. I was about to go full Kevin because I'm very upset. They tried 6 different air filters and none of them worked, which I know that if you just go look at the computer, it'll tell you exactly which filter to go get. All you had to tell me was, we don't have it. That's all you had to say. We don't have it. Here's another store that has it if your car can make it there.
Mm-hmm.
I digress. It is hotter than Satan's dick outside in Texas right now. And that may have contributed to part of this.
Mm.
both on the attitude of the Valvoline attendant and my car freaking out. The heat index here was 116 yesterday.
Holy shit.
The temperature was actually 106 outside. It did not, the heat index did not get below 100 until 1 o'clock in the morning.
That's fucking ridiculous.
Well, welcome to Texas, my friend.
Yeah.
I don't know what's worse, car problems or a hot water heater.
Dude, I'm about to have to spend so much fucking money. I'm salty as shit. And I'm going to New York in like, what, 2 weeks? I'm running the 23rd, less than 2 weeks. It's like the worst timing. I just went to a concert in Cleveland. That was super expensive. I'm going to New York in less than 2 weeks. And in the middle of all of this, my fucking hot water heater decides to, kind of get a little bit of gas leak. I called Columbia Gas, and they were like, all right, well, you need to vacate and get all animals out. And I'm like,
wonderful.
I was like, fuck. So we got all the animals out, and the guy gets into the house. He's like, all right, what are we dealing with here? I open up the little closet thing that's in, and he's like, well, let's check her out. And he does, and I go outside, and he's like, well, you see, you got a little problem. It's not a gas leak right now. I'm not done testing, but it's not a gas leak from what I'm thinking. But it is carbon monoxide. And I'm like, that's even fucking worse. He's like, well, I got to run a couple more tests and see what's going on here. So he does his little 3-minute outside test, and he comes back. He's like, well, I got worse news. Yes, you got carbon monoxide leaking out, but when I shut off your valves, a whole bunch of CO came popping out. So you also have a gas leak. So right now I have my gas turned off until I can get my water heater replaced. And it's not a good time, because I don't have the money to get a water heater right now.
Right. I had a buddy last year who his hot water heater busted on him in the middle of the night, and he was like, thank God it's out in the garage. But
Yeah.
And their garage is like, not the garage itself, but like their back drive is like sloped. So he was like,
yeah,
it didn't come into the house, thankfully, but he was like, yeah, it burst, and it was like, oh God, I think it was like January or February, so it was like really fucking cold outside too. Like Texas doesn't get that cold compared to like the north, but it was still cold. And he's like, yeah, I'm trying to get a hot water heater replaced. He's like, thankfully, like everything I have out in the garage is like up on risers, with the exception of like my lawnmower. Because he's like, I grew up being paranoid about this, so and I was like, oh my God, like just I don't want to own a home, but I'd rather it happen in a home than in my second-story apartment.
Yeah.
Because I absolutely, after water came through my ceiling last year, I will forever be terrified when I hear running water in my house. But that's not why we're here tonight. No. This is not Home Improvement. Tim Allen is not walking through the door to save us, even though he's kind of.
I wish.
If we're gonna have any TV dad come through, I'm gonna need it to be Alan Matthews from Boy Meets World. But
never seen it, but we're gonna continue. We're not gonna touch on it.
What's wrong with you?
We're not gonna touch on it.
Here? What is
I don't want to touch it. I don't want to. Nope. I don't want to talk about it.
Unbelievable.
I'm the king of unpopular opinions. We've gathered this. Let's move on.
God, you uncultured swine.
At least I've seen Alien.
That's true. You have at least seen Alien. I will give credit where credit's due. You've seen Back to the Future, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, well, we got to leg up on Corey then.
This is a no Corey zone this week.
Guys, in case you didn't realize, Corey's gone, so we're making fun of him. We love you, Corey. We got a fairly short TWAB. Some interesting updates in here, but fairly short TWAB. Some Solstice to talk about. A lot of questions, and I'm going to share my take on the whole "is the secret mission too hard" thing on later, because we did get a question about that from Sammy again. But in fact, you know what? Fuck it. We're going to start there. We're going to start with the secret mission, because this has become a recurring topic that I've seen in the community this week. Not in ours necessarily, but just like throughout the Destiny community. It seems like you're on one of two sides, and no one's really like kind of in the middle on this. It's either you love the timed aspect or you think it's dog shit.
Yeah.
And I just like I don't know where to go with this because I'm one of the people where like I see both sides of it pretty easily. Fox, what do you think? I know you guys talked about this last week. Just like real
Uh,
quick, like
so I didn't necessarily give my opinion on like if I thought it was too hard. I mean, yeah, it's hard,
Yeah,
but
let's talk the difficulty. Yeah,
yeah, it's hard. I'm going to close my window. There's a kid running around on a fucking ATV right now. It's hard, but the hard part about it is the timer. Yes, I agree. There should be a timer because you don't want to just give someone
right.
infinite time to whittle away on this bullet sponge. But I think 10 minutes is way too short. I think we should have gone a good 15 because the group I did it with, we really pushed it. And I know Joe said he was pushing time too. Everyone I've talked to said that they're pushing time. So I think raising it to 15 would be acceptable, but then again, you're going to have people on Twitter, Salty Repo, complaining about how easy the 15-minute timer would be. So I mean, when it comes to the Destiny community, there is no middle ground. You're either yes or you are no.
Yeah. So full disclosure, I did my run on reset day when it came out with Joe and A1 Johnny, and it probably took us 2 or 3 hours of trying to get through the mission. On the run where we finished it with 2 minutes left on the timer. I don't, and I mean, it kind of, we were throwing everything in the kitchen sink at it to see what would work, and finally we settled on running a Divinity and sacrificing some of the DPS, and that turned out to be what we needed.
That's what we did as well.
I think that I actually don't think the 10-minute timer is a problem here. I'm going to be totally honest. I know Sammy is probably screaming at me right now. I don't think the 10-minute timer is my problem here. My problem is you have to run the entire deep dive to get to the mission before you can even start it. That inherently is a problem in a match-made activity where if one person just refuses to do the Toland orbs, you can't even activate it. That's a problem.
So, funny story about that. You don't have to activate the Toland orbs.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, we speed ran through the deep dive. Like, we just killed shit and went on. We were in the mission. Boom, right there. We were in the deep dive aspect for less than 8 minutes. We spent a majority of the time on the actual boss. It's a little silly. But here's something that they could have done. They could have made it its own standalone mission, such as Presage or the Outbreak mission or the Whisper mission.
They could have
and made it longer and harder.
So
and I would have been okay with that.
Why I like this being a part of Deep Dive. I like that basically unless you are online, like chronically online regarding this game, you had no idea this was in the game.
Mm-hmm.
If you weren't going out and doing fishing and catching specific exotic fish and turning in those exotic fish, you have no idea that there are things to collect to open up a secret mission. That is an aspect of Destiny that I've missed for a very long time. It brings me back to the first time that we had Whisper and to the Outbreak Perfected quest lines. How those were secret missions and you had to discover them. Like, the first people who cleared Whisper found it on accident. Right?
Yeah.
Like, when I see people say, like, oh, it takes too long, and even when I hear myself saying it, I remember waiting around for 2 or 3 hours for the specific public event to show up on IO to then run and kill these bosses and hope that there were enough people in the zone to do it, because me and my fire team usually weren't enough. This was pre-Forsaken Destiny 2. For those of you who did not play during launch year of D2, the power scale was radically different. We had shotguns in the heavy slot, for God's sake. But running around and trying to do that and then going into the mission and finding out it was timed was wild. You had 20 minutes, but it flew by in an instant.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't tell you how many times, like the first couple times I ran it, I was barely getting to the taken rooms because I was having to learn the patterns of how to do the jumping, how to avoid the taken blights and things like that. But it got easier over time, and I think this is one of those missions like it gets a little bit simpler over time once you get a strategy down. I understand the frustration,
Yeah.
but I think that Destiny was kind of lacking I think it was lacking the mystery, and I think it was lacking secrets defined. And this, if it hadn't been so publicized, and I think it's really hard to put in a secret mission too, by the way, nowadays.
Yeah.
I think this was handled about as good as it could have. The exotic itself was leaked. How you got it was not. And I really appreciated that. That aspect of it is really cool. I like that we actually used the deep dive mission to get there because I do see how this is 100% going into the rotator immediately when this year is over.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Oh, yeah.
And you're going to have to do that opening deep dive part to get back to there. I would almost guarantee you. Because like you said, you won't have to activate the toll and stuff. You can just fly through it. It's probably like all in all, it's going to be about a 20-minute mission.
Yeah.
And that's not bad to me. I actually think that's a perfect length for an exotic mission. I like I like the challenge of it. I don't know. Like I do agree that it's for me the part that was most infuriating is everything slows you.
Mm-hmm.
Everything slowing you is definitely the most infuriating part to me. Like doing the actual DPS, we were not having problems doing DPS. It was everything slows you, or like it's enough that the boss chases you and can pull you out of your super.
Yeah.
Right?
So funny thing about that, I was running Tether, and
Yeah.
the guys I was doing it with were on Well, and dude, the boss would not stop slamming. I couldn't even get my Tether out to like slow down the ads around us. Like it was, I had my super there, but I'd press F and nothing happened because he'd just be on me over. They couldn't even get their well out either, and I couldn't make orbs for them to get their well back.
Yeah, what we started doing was we were running into a corner. We would run into a corner, pop the well, so that way even if we got booped, we were still in the well.
Mm-hmm.
And I eventually had to take Tether off in favor of Arc Staff because at least I could just chuck. I would wait until he got up in the air and then I would throw it, so that I would make sure I was hitting that crit spot. And that seemed to be kind of like the secret sauce for us was that with a div. I don't think, yeah, so I personally don't think that it's too hard. I enjoyed it being as challenging as it was because I think that Destiny is really, and this is kind of like more meta on the side of things. Like, I do understand the frustration with this being challenging because the game has had a noticeable difficulty climb this year.
Mm-hmm.
To the point where even I have said, like, yeah, we should probably bump this down by like 15% or so across the board. It's so weird because like you have the easiest raid they've done since Crota,
Yeah.
right? But in terms of like combat, but you have the most challenging dungeon they've done easily. That dungeon is just second and third encounters are fucking wild in terms of how much damage those bosses do and how little you do to them.
Yep.
You have those. You have the scaling difficulty of the legendary campaign against Callus. Which
Dude,
is also wild.
Yeah.
But and you have the overall general increase in difficulty in the Vanguard playlist and in the seasonal stuff. And like I don't mind that stuff being a little bit more difficult. I do think I think it's been a little overtuned to the point where again I'm ready for it to be reduced back down. I understand that they're trying to walk a fine line because the game was so easy for so many players. And it's hard not to. I mean, this is large. You know, we're the tower casuals for God's sake. You know, we're not the tower sweat lords. I enjoy a good challenge, but I like when I can select or make it as difficult as I wanted to. Now, I will agree that I think like the base version of this could have been a little bit easier. Maybe you entered maybe the legend version is the one that you slap the timer on to go get the catalyst.
Yeah.
I think because I mean locking the catalyst behind tier 7 deep dive is fucking wild. That is a wild thing to do.
Yeah, I kind of touched on this last week. So yes, the Root of Nightmares was simple. It was easy.
Yeah.
and then you take a turn to this season with the deep dives, the dungeon, this mission.
I mean, you could even
They
stay
are
in last
hard.
season and look at the Vexcalibur mission.
Yeah, they are making stuff geared toward the the non casuals, but they are also making stuff that are geared toward the casuals. So I mean, it
Yeah,
goes either way. They just need to find, in my opinion, they need to find that even middle ground where it's interchangeable. If you want to make it hard, make it hard. If you don't want to make it hard, make it easy. You know, and I think they're
well,
struggling to find that middle ground.
I think that the other thing that would help with this is maybe once you beat it for the first time, it becomes a launchable thing in the Legends section.
Mm-hmm.
Um, again, to give you like that legend difficulty, like to hypothetically go in and like, I think it would have been really cool if they had done like, oh, you can repeat this, not for like random rolls on the gun or anything. I'm really glad they didn't go experimenting with that with
Oh
this
my
weapon.
god, me too.
But we've talked about how you need to be able to earn more things in game. I think it would have been really cool if you could have earned a special ornament from doing it on Legend. Maybe like you
Mm-hmm.
could have done, an ornament, have a special emblem, things like that they've done in the past for secret missions or for exotic quests. Like I got an emblem from Hawkmoon. We got one from doing the various different levels of Persage. We've gotten them in the past. Why are we not getting them here? Is the question. Like there are little things you can do that make these missions worth doing again, or that you're incentivizing to help friends through. Instead, most of us who are finishing this are like, well, that was awful, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah,
But I do think that the game has started shifting more away from like the casual audience, more towards the hardcore fan base, because that's who's still here, that's who is still, that's the part of the fan base that's really vocal. And I think they feel, you mentioned Salta Grepo earlier. I think that people who, like him and Datto and Fallout, content creators are like, oh, thank God something challenging, right?
yeah,
And I was one of the, like last week, I was like, man, I understand that they're probably going to bump the difficulty down on this after the season is over. I suspect. I don't think they'll do it in season, but I think as
yeah,
soon as the showcase happens, they're probably going to bump the difficulty down a little bit or remove the timer or something. But I think that it's important to still have things that are challenging. And I think that it's kind of time for us to realize like not everything should be handed out in an MMO like this.
mm-hmm.
There should be things that are harder to get. And yeah, I do think that that extends to non RNG exotics.
Yeah,
I think it's okay that this is harder to get. Outbreak Perfected was really hard to get the first season it came out. We had to get those power bumps for it to be easier. It was really hard to get Whisper of the Worm if you tried doing it before Forsaken came out. Once upon a time, it was really hard for us to go and earn. And I mean, this is different because it's PvP, but it was hard to go get Luna's Howl and Not Forgotten and Recluse and
mm-hmm.
Mountaintop. Like, we used to have to play Gambit to earn Breakneck and Exit Strategy. And, we had to earn Loaded Question from running Vanguard stuff and doing Vanguard quests. Like, I miss earning pinnacle weapons. I miss earning shit and not just like, oh, level up your vendor to 16 as fast as you can and you get
Yeah,
handed a legendary. Like, I miss doing actual quests in the game, and I understand like why we don't get them as much anymore, even if I think the reasoning is kind of like hogwash after a couple of years. So I'll welcome something like this with open arms. And I think it's okay. Like, I do think the one thing I think is a little bit ridiculous is that this is required for a seasonal title
yeah.
if
That's
it's gonna be that tight, because in my I've explained this philosophy before, but I think seasonal titles should be the easiest. That and like Deadeye should be the easiest things to earn,
mm-hmm.
and then I think like your playlist specific things should be the next, and then your pinnacles should be like the raid and the dungeon seals,
Yeah,
right? Like this, and to be clear, like I think that that mission is attainable to anyone who really wants to try, but Sammy had a good point. I don't remember if it was Sammy or somebody else who made this point in the Discord, who basically said I should not have to kit out like this is a raid or a
yeah,
dungeon in order to do a deep dive. And I agree with that. I do fully agree with that. I do think like a little bit of like waning back on the difficulty would probably help out. But at the same time, like again, I'm caught because I like the challenge. I just wish I didn't have to be a sweat lord for like everything in the game these days.
Yeah.
I have found it increasingly harder to go back and do older seasonal content with friends who are maybe lapsed, because when we go, even this season, I have a friend he's like 1785. And whenever we do matchmaking, we always get put with somebody who is his level. So I'm basically trying to solo these deep dives. I'm like, okay, fine. But they're like tier 4, even if we're not acting Tolan. They still get up to tier 4. The highest you
Yeah.
can get is 7. They're still getting up to tier 4. That's kind of hard to do solo. Sorry. Like, that just is, for my skill level, that is a little bit challenging.
So
And I'm tired of having to be a sweat lord anytime I want to just run seasonal activities.
if you look back to the Witch Queen, um, the Witch Queen announcement little
Mm-hmm.
stream they had, the showcase, the Witch Queen showcase.
Yeah.
They said that they wanted to gear the Witch Queen toward the casuals to make it easier for new players to come in. And
Mm-hmm.
they did. They had over 1 million pre-orders for the Witch Queen.
Yeah.
We're at the end of Destiny, the Light and Dark saga. We need to make this hard for the people who have been here to see this story through. We need it hard. You can't make the end of the story easy for everyone.
I
Because
just
if you
find
do
it very
that,
funny that we were handed the pinnacle of the pinnacle activities in Destiny, which is a raid, and it's the easiest raid that they've done in years.
yep.
And I think the raids have, like, with the exception of Vow, I think they have gotten easier over the years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and at Vow, I mean, it's really like the last two, like Vow really just they have a couple damage checks and the ridiculous relic room.
Yeah.
Um, but I think that we look at the pinnacle activities, and I do think that they've gotten easier and more accessible over the last couple, really since like Beyond Light. But if anything, I think that this shows like how badly we need a balance pass in the game as a whole in terms of difficulty. Like, I do think there should be different tiers to what's to be expected. Like, this is probably a little bit too much on the hard side, but I do enjoy at the same time. A lot of this season is very much choose how difficult you want your content to be while you're in the content. And I think that's great if you're in a fire team. I think it's really hard when you're playing with matchmaking. I think that's really challenging when you're trying to get, maybe two other people to come and get all the rewards. Like, some people just aren't comfortable doing that, or maybe some people are
Yeah.
just in here trying to get challenges or triumphs done. Like, not everybody wants to do the sweaty tier 7 every single time they walk in.
Yeah.
Like, there's just that reality. And I think that Destiny is walking a really fine line, because yeah, a lot of us have been here for a while and we want more of a challenge. We wanted things to get harder, but at the same time, for a lot of us, for a lot of the non-vocal crowd, I guess I should say, this is the game they come and hang out with and play with their friends. Like, not everybody wants to be a sweat lord 24/7 in every single mode. Like, you want to have a whole bunch of tryhards in Crucible, fine. You want to have GMs, cool. Like, GMs are a thing. Master raids are a thing, which I agree, master raids probably need to be reworked too. Master dungeons are a thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I get that they want to just like the base difficulty brought up a bit. I think we've crossed beyond just a bit, and I do think that at times it is too much. I mean, for God's sake, look at how some of the battlegrounds went. When we got the Seraph battlegrounds, look at some of those. Even just on the base difficulty, you're like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
And like, that's fine, but now they're in the Grandmaster playlist, and it's like, oh Jesus, these things are like impossible to do.
Yeah. I haven't even touched them.
Haven't even touched
can't.
them. Will
Yeah,
not.
I'm
Shan't.
good.
I shan't be touching. But I guess that's all just like a really long-winded way of saying that, like, yeah, I think I agree more with Sammy saying, like, I think the game's becoming like a little too challenging in some aspects for a casual audience than anything else. Because I mean, I'll be honest, like, there's times I just want to log in, I want to get my shit done, and I want to leave.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind the occasional quest that's like this, but I do think that things that are expected to be challenging should be challenging. Raids should be challenging. They
Yeah.
should be. That's the pinnacle content. Like, I discussed this ad nauseum since Root came out, but I do think that raids should be challenging. Dungeons should be a challenging thing. Like, dungeons probably shouldn't be as hard as a raid, but they should still be challenging.
Mm-hmm.
Like, ghosts probably borders on being too challenging for a dungeon, in my opinion. But we all love the challenge of it.
Yeah.
So similar to that,
Absolutely.
I really enjoy the challenge of this. I honestly think it's the timer that freaks people out. I think that's all it is. I think it's the timer that freaks people out. I'm like, hey, not everything is going to be oh yeah, just keep rezzing your homies, and you've got like 6 phases to get through this. No, this is like the old, kind of like the old enrage mechanic is what this makes me
Mm-hmm.
think of.
Yeah.
Like, no. But
And
there, no way should this thing be harder to kill than Nezarec is, though. That's
no,
my only
yeah.
gripe with this.
So if you break it down, you've got all the time in the world to kill these minotaurs. Your damage phase is 75 seconds, and in a 10-minute window, that is a long time.
Yeah,
75 seconds is a long time, and it takes maybe 15 seconds if you kill all of them simultaneously. It takes maybe 15 seconds to get the minotaurs. So you can pump out a solid 5 damage phases at the minimum, which
yeah,
should be more than enough.
yeah.
Yes, it's 10 minutes, but if you break it down, and even with like not the best loadout in the game, but with a good loadout,
Hmm.
you're going to get it 100% of the time.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just think there needs to be like a middle ground that they need to find and,
Yeah, I
and
think there I
get
think
to
there's a
us.
deeper conversation to be had here personally.
Yeah.
Um and I don't know, maybe we'll explore having that conversation at the end of the season maybe.
Yeah.
I want to see how the next season starts to play out before I'm like banging down the doors. And we do know that there is a revamp of core activities coming in the
Yes.
last season of the year. And
Thank God.
I hope we get some details on that next month. We're about 40 days out
Yep. Yep.
from showcase day. I really hope that we get some details on that because let me tell you, we gotta talk core playlists. Which guess what? We're gonna do a little bit of that now with
Woo.
this here TWAB. We're gonna jump back to the TWAB mid-season Crucible update. The mid-season update. We finally have a date coming on the 18th of July, which is next Tuesday. 2 patch notes that they want to share with us today, though. Fixed a few out-of-bound spots in various maps, and Whisper of Chains is going to have a damage reduction in PvP from 15% to 5%. But speaking of the Crucible, here's the dev team. Back when we launched Season of the Deep, we made a few tuning changes to the Crucible that missed patch notes. Many of you have called out the respawning changes. We have some additional changes coming soon, but the second change has gone mostly uncommented upon, so we want to let you know what's changed. Respawning changes. We've made a number of adjustments to Control and Clash respawn logic. Really, because I didn't see it in Control, but all Crucible respawn points are evaluated in a number of factors: proximity, sightline enemy players, and owned objectives, as well as proximity to friendly players and owned objectives. Previously in Control and other objective-based modes, it very strongly weighted friendly objectives and enemy sightlines proximity. The goal of helping players get back into the action quicker on some of the larger maps and reduce the I usually spawn to the backfield feeling and clash style modes, we reduced the importance of friendly objectives and enemy sightlines and increased the importance of friendly players. Ideally, players will spawn near other friendly players, but safely. In testing, this seemed to work well on a variety of maps, but it's hard to replicate the chaos of real 6v6 matches. As many players noticed, we tuned the influence of enemy sightlines down too far. It caused a number of problems that many players reported. You often spawn in the middle of a firefight, and spawn trapping is easier on many maps. It's also led to a sharp increase in the number of matches ending in a mercy. In the first hotfix after the mid-season patch, so think end of July, I think like the 25th of July, we're going to be increasing the influence of enemy player sightlines and proximity back to what it was before. Ideally, we keep some of the benefits like spawning nearer to active engagements without the downside of spawning in the middle of a fight. Keep an eye on feedback and analytics, blah blah blah. Yeah, it's pretty bad. I was playing what's the map on it's on Mercury. It's in the sky.
Like the Infinite Forest one?
Yeah. What is that? Confluence? Is that what that one is?
Convergence. It's an old D1 map that
Convergence.
they
That's what I'm thinking of.
remade. Yeah.
Yeah. It's fucking awful. The spawning on that one was bad. I spawned
Mm-hmm.
into multiple firefights last night. I had another one, which is the one that's set in the past on Mercury. I had that in Iron Banner twice last night, and repeatedly just spawned in the middle of sightlines. The sightlines on A in that map have always been bad in particular, but like
Yeah.
you be on the objectives at C and they'll dump them all at C. Like it's the spawning on those two maps has always been pretty rough, but man, I guess I hadn't played them in a while because they hadn't been in my rotation because that was
Mm-hmm.
bad. That was real. That was real rough.
I
Most other
spawned.
maps, you're probably okay, but those, whew.
Yeah, I spawned literally right in front of someone the other day. Like, it was
Yep.
awful.
I spawned in the line of fire, like literally in the middle of a firefight. Not even joking. Like my players were behind me and the enemy was in front of me, and I was a meat shield for my team.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was absolutely awful. And then competitive matchmaking is getting changes. Um, while pure skill-based matchmaking may reduce the fairest matches for players, it also diminishes the experience of climbing their ranked ladder. A player who only just completed their placement series shouldn't immediately face off against the highest or lowest ranked players, regardless of their skill. So, thus, this season, 3v3 matchmaking is calculated based on both rank and skill. A few changes we are considering for future seasons. I'm just kind of flying through this. Like, whatever. You guys can read the explanation here if you don't know how matchmaking rating works. Uh, Future changes: adjusting the rank to skill limiting so that it doesn't limit at all if you're above your target skill, and loosening up the division points throttling if you are too far above or below your target skill level. So basically, it's like kind of keeping the points dynamic. And then that's it for Crucible stuff. But excuse me, we have one more: dynamic skill ranges. It's a feature they discussed in a TWAB a little while back. It's a feature designed to equalize matchmaking pools during low population or low population skill brackets. We built this feature in Season 19, but there were some issues preventing us from turning it on and getting good data. Finally found a window to turn it on at the start of Iron Banner a few weeks ago, and we broke all matchmaking, so we turned it back off. We are fixing the bugs we found and are doing another round of intense testing on it, but are hoping to redeploy it in a future season. We have some exciting reveals coming before season 22 in the coming weeks. So curious to see what they talk about. I hope that an Iron Banner update is one of those. It's been nice to have the rotator back. Don't get me wrong, but it really grinds my gears that people still don't play the objective in Fortress.
They never
It
will.
really grinds my gears. I'm really sorry if you can hear the asshole Dodge Charger outside my window right now.
Oh, again?
Oh, dude, this dude like clockwork every single day, between 7:30 and 8:30 does it, and then usually at about 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning he's out there revving his engine like an asshole.
You should go fight him.
I have called the cops on him once or twice and said that we have a disturber of the peace. I've called the non-emergency number. So yeah, I'm being a Kevin because there is a police officer who lives in our apartment complex on the other side of the complex, so he's not hearing this shit as much, I imagine. And he's also the courtesy officer that we have at night, apparently. And so I think he likes coming over in his SUV and whoop whoop, throwing his lights on real quick and driving up to the charger. He's driven up and parked in front of it before while the guy's doing it. He's just driven up without any lights and then parks in front of him and throws the lights on. And that's always funny to watch. We had the Wither Horde ornament winner. God, this. I don't think that this looks very good. I'm gonna be honest.
Honestly, but for this, it was between this one and the like white one with red lines on it.
Yeah, because we already have one that was very similar to the first one. I don't know. I just, of all the weapons, really, we don't need another Wither Horde ornament. There's enough of them. And also,
Yeah.
like, I get that this is supposed to be Season of the Deep themed. This isn't even going to be in the game until Final Shape comes out. Why are we This is like the equivalent of giving us the really cool Splicer one for Arbalest. Like, these teams are not in the game anymore. They're sunset. They've been sent to the Great Traveler in the sky. I don't know. I'm cranky and looking for a reason to complain about.
It shouldn't have been Wither Horde anyway. It's all good.
Nine Ribbons was the designer, so cool. She's gonna get a community focus on Friday, so by the time you're listening to this, there'll be community focus up with her. Sound off on socials if you want us to keep doing things like this and what weapons you want ornaments for. Yeah, not Wither Horde. Not Wither Horde and not Arbalest.
Anything but Wither Horde. Thunderlord.
Oh, Thunderlord. I would have taken an Izanagi's one. Preferably, I'd rather see ones that don't have any ornaments at all. I get that they want it to be something that's used a lot, but
I would have took anything but Wither Horde.
Why don't you? I would really like to see them show us an unreleased exotic. and say we're going to let an artist design the first ornament for it. Like, show us the next raid exotic or something, and then let a community artist design the ornament that's going to be sold in Eververse for it, because they always do an
I
ornament right away.
I'd like them to have them take the most renowned weapon in all of Destiny. I'd like to see a community Gallarhorn ornament.
I feel like
That
that's coming for. I feel like that's going to be a 10th anniversary thing.
that would be fucking sick.
That's got to be a 10th anniversary thing, in my opinion. They got to do it then.
Yeah.
Um.
Well, then, yeah, that would have been posted this year for voting and released at the 10th anniversary.
No. 10th anniversary isn't until next year.
Well, would they have wanted to vote for it on the 10th or released it on the 10th?
If you release, if you do the vote or release it on the 10th, then you still do.
Either way, somebody's going to be happy about it. So
because 10th anniversary of Destiny is 2014, so 2014 to 2024. Destiny.
All right, I want to see Gallarhorn.
We got the reveal in 2013.
Yeah.
So that's why I keep seeing people be like, "Oh, it's the 10th anniversary of Destiny." No, it's not. Guys, we haven't even hit year 9 yet. Let's bump the brakes. Year 9 starts in September. Let's calm down a little bit. If you are one of the Guardians running around with your wicked implement glued to your side, we have some information regarding the Catalyst. With designing Catalysts, our teams aren't there to create something you need to get, but to create something to entice you to let your weapon achieve its full potential. The main thing we wanted to facilitate is getting you into a rhythm with your precision hits. Refilling the magazine when collecting a shard accomplishes that, letting you continue aiming down sights to chain precision damage, but adding mag overflow with the Catalyst lets you extend that even further, especially when picking off red bars in between damaging stronger targets and collecting the shards when they return to you. Being able to potentially slow targets with a primary in the PvP neutral game is already spicy, which is why we tuned the perk to so a single target would either be dead or close to it by the time you start slowing them. You switch targets when outnumbered, however, ... The perk works with any stasis shard, though, so if you're running a stasis subclass, you rarely have to reload. We also heard the feedback on the base weapon and have a few buffs on the way. Among other things, we are cautious with the timing window for creeping attrition. We're looking at adjusting that in the future. I have a feeling this probably isn't going to get buffed in the mid-season patch. I think this is probably coming with the next season. I can't imagine that they're gonna buff a weapon a week after dropping it. But
maybe like an overpowered weapon. Yeah.
Yeah, they would have nerfed it. Don't get me wrong. I don't know about buffing it, but yeah. So if you're one of like the 3 people using it, congratulations. I don't think it's a bad weapon. It just feels kind of underwhelming for what I had to do to get this thing.
Yeah.
Very, very awesome design though. That's one of my favorite weapons. Absolutely slaying out. Let's talk a little Solstice though.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk some Solstice. You ready to go back to the EAZ for the 5th year in a row? I'm not.
Yeah, not really.
I will tell you right now, I'm going to play the absolute bare minimum of this event. I'm going to play enough to get a few rolls on this new gun, and I'm going to get my armor set, and that's all I care about.
I got the title last year.
I did too.
And that was enough for me. I actually really enjoyed the event last year. They changed it up.
The fact that I have
Bonfire Bash.
So my problem is I like Bonfire Bash. I'm just so burned out on Solstice as a whole.
Well, with this new fucking armor, my ass is gonna be playing hella.
So yeah, let's get into that for a second. So first off, last year we streamlined the armor upgrade process for all classes. This year we worked on enemy density and overall difficulty of the Bonfire Bash. You'll find out you must work a little harder to light the bonfire, and 2 new buffs to mix it up even further. Firebound. When close to a fire team member, gain increased recovery and super regeneration. And Flare. Rapidly defeat combatants to unleash waves of paracausal fire around you, dealing damage to nearby combatants. That's kind of dope, actually.
Yeah.
I really like that, honestly. I hate this, though. Upgrading your Solstice armor requires finding and spending silver leaves, silver ash, and kindling. Silver leaves, earned by completing activities throughout the game. Silver ash, transform leaves into ash by completing Bonfire Bash. Spend silver ash to re-roll armor stats from the armor mod screen. And kindling, earn kindling by completing Solstice event challenges. Spend it to upgrade your armor stat roll potential. Each piece of armor can be upgraded 3 times. You only do this once per armor slot. Every time you upgrade a piece of Solstice armor, it is permanent and shared across all Solstice pieces for that armor slot. So if you upgrade a helmet all the way to tier 3, every Solstice helmet in your inventory and any future helmets you earn for that class can now access tier 3 stat rerolls. And also, the armor will feature both free and paid glows like previous years, and just like before, fully upgrading a piece of armor with kindling will cause it to glow. This Solstice armor is very like Welcome to the Black Parade-esque.
I'm here
And
for it.
I'm here for it. I know a lot of people are going to be like, I don't know how I feel about this. I don't like the more ornate sets, really. The Hunter set is very like subdued, and I like that.
Oh,
I
I
think
love the
this with
ornate.
some shaders is going to look really dope.
Oh yeah.
But I like it on all 3 classes. I think
I
the Titan shoulder pads are well, no, excuse me, not the Titan shoulder pads. The solo shoulder pad on the Warlock is a little funny.
yeah, they
Um,
should have just went with 2 on that.
yeah, they should have gone with 2. But I like this armor. I like the glow. So that's kind of I guess that's confirming we're getting a strand glow.
Yeah, and it looks good too.
It looks very
I
good.
don't know how I feel about like the behind the head stuff.
I'm okay with it. Bring it on. I'm okay with it. Let's do it. This rocket launcher looks pretty cool, though. I think for a model that we've obviously seen several times before, I think this actually looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's the first ever strand rocket launcher. I'm glad they're not drip feeding us strand weapons like they did stasis weapons. They just started giving them to us like crazy right away. But like this, I'm curious to see what kind of perks we're gonna get on this too. Because I think it looks cool, and obviously there could be some really fun builds with that. Kind of curious to see if you can get what if you could get hatchling on this, and hatchling like worked with Galley's perk. What if it worked with more wolves?
Jesus Christ!
You see threadlings flying everywhere.
Threadlings coming out of the fucking wolf packs. Oh my god!
It'll be the equivalent of like Broodweaver.
Jesus, that's fucking crazy.
There's some pretty funny things that you could do. So if you're listening to this right at launch, you have 3 more days to consider this. But Hung Jury is in rotation in the Nightfalls, and it sounds like this is the last week that you're going to be able to earn it. It sounds like they're going to re-retire it after this season. So go earn a Hung Jury if you still need a good roll on one. It's a fairly easy Nightfall to go do. So I think it's an easy Nightfall. Is it an easy Nightfall? What's the Nightfall this week?
Let's Google it.
Because I did a lot of Nightfalls I think I did them like on Monday, so I don't think it's Devil's Lair anymore.
Let's see.
So it was an easy Nightfall. It might not be now.
Week of July 11th through the 18th. It is.
Or was it Fallen Saber?
I believe. Oh, Corrupted.
Oh, never mind. Sorry, guys.
Good
luck, everyone.
Yeah, I'm good. Y'all have fun.
Yeah, good luck. And we're going to remind you guys every week until it actually happens. The Destiny 2 showcase, August 22nd, 9 a.m. Pacific time. So get ready for that, everybody. That is going to be, it's going to be interesting. I redid a lot of the seasonal story last night and today with a friend of mine who's catching up. And, yeah, I'm like, oof, well, really hope they stick the landing here. Not that I've ever walked away from a Destiny showcase being upset, but really, really need them to stick the landing here.
Yeah.
But Fox, why don't we let's go do some questions.
Let's do some
questions. Let's get her done. Let's do some questions. Oh Jesus, I just lost my train of thought. All right. We have 2 questions tonight from Jiggly Panda. They are non-Destiny related questions. That was made sure to be noted at the beginning.
Nice.
Fox, are you an indulger of sports?
I mean, it depends. The sport.
Okay. Well, even if it's like cross-country skiing, you're gonna have to give me an answer here. What is one moment where you were watching sports in your life where you wanted to watch more, So I don't know if this means like what's like the first like real sports memory you have, or like what's a great one and you didn't want the game to end. The example given here was when Des Bryant did not catch the ball against the Packers.
Mm. I'll let you go first, 'cause I gotta think on this one.
Oh man, this is man. So I've got two here. One, absolutely Dirk Nowitzki's flu game in the 2011 NBA Finals. When I saw, LeBron and Dwayne Wade making fun of him for being sick, and then he went out there and whooped their ass. The second, I mean, I could probably even have three. I would say when the Broncos high snapped the ball past Peyton Manning's face in the opening play of Super Bowl 48, and the Seahawks recovered for a safety on the first play of the game. That was great. Just one of the greatest moments in sports for me as a diehard Seahawks fan. I was like, that was the moment that I knew we weren't losing the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But the much more like recent answer that I would have to say is a moment that if this man ever wins a championship and or an MVP, this will absolutely be one of the clips shown at his Hall of Fame induction. Game 5, end of Game 5 in the 2022 NBA playoffs, second round. The Mavs go down 3-2 against the Phoenix Suns on Phoenix's home court. And Booker and Luka talking all this trash. Luka walks off the court, and they're filming the team coming down the hallway, and they're all kind of looking like, oh, I can't believe we lost, like all looking ho hum, and Luka's just like shrugging his shoulders while he's walking by, and he yells it down the hallway, everybody acting tough when they're up, and then goes on to give an extremely dominant 2-game performance to put them away. And gave them a humiliating defeat. One of the worst things I've ever seen of a Game 7 on home court in NBA history. It was beautiful. It's glorious. I never wanted that to end. I definitely do not watch highlights from Game 7 on a regular basis.
Damn.
That's like my ultimate like feel-good video at this point, is just watch Luka drop 35 points on the Suns in the first half, which is as many points as their entire team had. I definitely don't watch those highlights on a regular basis. Not at all. Not me.
So my
Hit me.
so it's stupid. I really do not like Trevor Lawrence. He seems way too cocky and full of himself. Something I could watch over and over and over was his first Super Bowl playoff game this past season, when he just kept throwing interceptions over and over and over. I laughed so fucking much every single time. He had, I think it was 4 in the first quarter, and then he threw 3 more the second quarter. Somehow, God graced them and gave them a win that fucking game against the fucking LA Chokers.
LA Chokers? Unbelievable.
Yeah. LA Chokers.
Unbelievable.
Fucking, and then I think he threw more interceptions the second game. It was just, anytime he fucks up, I'm just like, I'm here for it.
Unbelievable. Our second question for Jiggly Panda is, what are your main thoughts on the Activision news? Do you think it will be a good thing or a bad thing for the industry as a whole? I'm going to try and condense my thoughts as small as possible, because Corey and I just did a 2-hour podcast about this a week and a half ago on another show that we do.
Enlighten me. I'm not particularly caught up with the Activision news.
So the Activision news, of course, is referring to back in January 2022, Microsoft entered into an agreement to purchase Activision Blizzard from themselves for $69 billion.
Huh.
It would be the largest tech acquisition of all time if it goes through, and of course, it's been tied up in the courts and in litigation ever since.
Yeah.
There was a limit set on how long it could take back when they entered into the agreement, and it was an 18-month timer. And that 18-month timer runs out next week. I believe it runs out on Monday. Of course, the FTC and the UK CMA dragged their feet. They were supposed to have their decisions back in like March or April, and they didn't. Instead, the CMA decided they were going to oppose it, and then the FTC came out a few weeks later and was like, "Oh yeah, we're going to oppose it too," hoping to run out the clock. Well, Microsoft files for a quicker trial. They got it because there was a restraining order put on hold over the acquisition,
Mm-hmm.
and both parties were like, yeah, we're going to walk away from this if it gets to that date and it's not done, which is what they were trying to do. Because it's no secret that Bobby Kotick over at Activision really doesn't want to get bought out. He got overruled by his board, though, because the offer was so good that they literally could not say no. You have a fiduciary responsibility to the shareholders at that point. The
Yeah.
central argument that has been made in the public has largely been from Sony and from Jim Ryan and from a lot of their fans that Xbox buying Call of Duty would destroy the industry as a whole. They're going to do the same thing to that they did with Bethesda and with Elder Scrolls and this and that. And Microsoft's whole tune has been, "Hey, we're making very public our offer to you guys that this is not going to happen. We are going to keep it multi. It literally makes no financial sense for us to take it private, which it doesn't. It literally makes no sense to do that to a franchise that probably moves 12 to 15 million units on PlayStation alone in a calendar year. And that was pretty much the only thing that the FTC argued during the 5-day hearing was Call of Duty being owned by Xbox is bad for the console market. The
Yeah.
judge did not agree because a lot of the deals that Microsoft has made with other companies, including Nvidia and Nintendo, those are the two big ones, is that Call of Duty will come to Nintendo platforms in the future and it will be released on Nvidia's GeForce streaming service. Which is the only cloud streaming service that's actually good right now, by the way, too. Like, I like Xbox Cloud Gaming. GeForce is way better. And I mean, it's from Nvidia. It's from a software company. What do you expect? Software and hardware company. Um, but I think that it's so much more than just Call of Duty because that may be what they're focusing on. But for example, the UK raised the issue of are they going to become a dominant force in cloud because they own Call of Duty? Like Call of Duty's on only this one cloud service. Oh well, that's going to cause a monopoly. And it would have if they hadn't signed an agreement with every single other cloud startup under the sun, right? So, but I think like you have to look so much beyond Call of Duty because there's Call of Duty, there's the entire Blizzard collection of companies and their entire suite of games, including World of Warcraft, Diablo, StarCraft, Overwatch. There's the entire mobile division of Activision, which includes King, the makers of Candy Crush.
Yeah.
It includes Call of Duty Mobile. It includes Warzone Mobile, Diablo Immortal, Hearthstone. Like, think of the classic properties that Activision also owns, which include Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon, Skylanders. Like, there is so much more at play here than just Call of Duty, and that's that ultimately is what's going to lose the FTC this case is that they only focused on Call of Duty to the point where the judge called them out during the hearings and was like, "You are here to argue on behalf of the consumer, not in favor of the Sony PlayStation." A judge who knows nothing about this industry could even point that out. So I think it's really silly. I ultimately do not think this is good for the industry, just because I'm very anti-consolidation. I thought that Microsoft buying ZeniMax a couple years ago was an extraordinary step and maybe a step too far. That one I've been willing to excuse in the past, though, because of how close Bethesda has worked with Xbox for like 20 years. Like, Morrowind doesn't come to consoles without Xbox.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Oblivion probably, and if Morrowind doesn't come, they definitely don't develop Oblivion with consoles in mind. So typically when you see a major Bethesda game also, it almost always gets revealed at a Microsoft conference. You know,
Yeah.
I believe that they have shown Fallout 3, Fallout 4, Fallout 76, and Skyrim all were shown at Xbox shows before they released. Granted,
Mm-hmm.
I know Skyrim's reveal was on Spike TV, whatever. Um, that one I was willing to excuse. I've been willing to excuse a lot of. I think the fear mongering over, oh, Microsoft just buys anybody that they want. They buy anybody they want. With the exception of Bethesda, every studio they've gone out and bought is a studio that historically struggles to get its games financed. Psychonauts 3 infamously went through 3 different rounds of crowdfunding fundraisers and still didn't have the money to put boss battles in their game until they were bought by Xbox.
Yeah.
And the result was one of the best games of 2021. So I think like, and then to see talented teams like Obsidian and Ninja Theory actually have budgets for their games has been really nice to see. But like I was against the Fox and Disney merger. I'm
Mhm.
definitely against this one, just from a consolidation standpoint. I don't think any company should be able to make a $69 billion purchase. I understand this is the end goal of capitalism ultimately. Like as an economics lesson, this is the end goal, is to buy companies and make yourself bigger.
Yeah.
Microsoft's one of what, like the 5 or 6 most powerful, like not maybe not powerful, but like uh valuable companies in the world in terms of revenue. It's like them, Apple, Amazon, Disney, and somebody, I don't know, probably some car manufacturer at that point.
Probably.
But it's like you the other thing I think you have to consider is, well, would you like, they're pledging to keep everything multi-platform unless it's like, if it's a new IP, and I this is where I kind of agree, like if it's an existing IP it should stay multi-platform. If it's new, it's fair game. As far as I'm concerned, that's fair game. If
Mhm.
they want to bring it to something else, they can. Would you rather somebody like Tencent or NetEase go buy them from, like China? Because then
Well,
you're gonna have a whole lot of problem.
yeah.
You're gonna have a whole lot of problems with your online games then. Would you rather like non-American companies be buying them up? Like, it's just there's just a lot. There's a lot of things to like take into consideration, and I don't think it's as easy as like saying, "Do you think this is good or bad?" Like, there are
Yeah.
so many moving parts that we do not understand because we are not lawyers and business people.
Yeah.
I can make
So
my best judgment based on what's available.
my
Go ahead,
my thoughts on this.
hit me, hit me.
I think it's all way too fucking corporate now.
Yep,
Um,
yep.
you know, these used to be people that fucking sat in a garage developing games, and now trying to. They're not trying. They are the Disney of gaming now, and I think it's bad, very very bad, because now you're getting all these big big schnoz people that are trying to buy out all these. Yeah, they buy all these smaller companies. Like I'm pretty sure Activision owns High Noon and Vicarious Visions, the two people that helped make
They
Forsaken.
own they own the bones of Vicarious Visions, which has been absorbed in the Blizzard by now.
Yeah, and I Activision chill, please. I said the same thing when Disney bought out Fox.
Yep.
And literally everything else. I don't want to watch the fucking Simpsons on Disney Plus. Put that shit on like I don't know Hulu or some shit. And the same applies for this. Don't make Call of Duty probably one of the biggest uh, games out there anymore. I don't know. It's kind of fallen off lately. Let's be
I
honest
would
here.
say I would say I mean, in terms of revenue, it's still that
Yeah,
and
it's
Grand Theft
still
Auto.
up there.
That's it. That's
It's
it.
still
Like,
up there.
it's those
But
two and then everything else.
yeah, those two and then everything else. And it's getting to the point where you can't have all the money because now you own everything and you're making too much money. But look at the case with Bungie.
Yeah.
They were the publisher for Destiny, right? And they said at the end of Destiny 1's cycle, they said, you're going to make a new game or you're just not going to make one at all, essentially.
Mhm. Yeah.
And they made Destiny 2. Was it for the better? Potentially. It's still
It was.
going.
It was for the better.
It was aspects, yes, aspects, no. That can go
It
either
was for the
way.
better because we left behind the fucking 360.
Yeah. But
That, like, the technology jump alone was worth it. But
the tech
I
jump,
digress.
yeah.
I digress.
The tech jump, yes, that's good. But when you're putting that on a company, that's just not cool because you're holding millions of dollars over this company's head. You're holding people's enjoyment, people's jobs over their heads if they don't do something. It's like it's patriarchal and it's corporate, and I hate those two things in this aspect. And most all other aspects, and I think it's just going to be a shit show all around, honestly.
Yeah, no, it's definitely like there's so much that goes into this too. It's like, again, I don't think it's as simple as to say like, oh, it's good or bad. Like, no, it's actually like pretty difficult. Like, I think there's a lot of drawbacks. I think there's benefits. I think that genuinely a lot of players stand to benefit from this. I think a lot of consumers do. Like, I've always been an advocate for choice of platform and choice of delivery method and things like that when it comes to media. And I mean, I think that having this on a service like Game Pass and like saying that, oh yeah, we're gonna bring the Call of Duty franchise to the Switch, even if it's just like Warzone stuff, like that's giving players a choice. And I understand that gets all done in the name of money, right? But
Yeah.
like, I get it from that aspect. Again, I'm not a fan of somebody owning everything. If as long as it stays on the platforms it's already on, though, it's kind of like, okay, well, what's really changing here? Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's a new owner. Body Kotick is out of the industry at that point. Like, that's a plus. Everybody hates that guy. Um, like, okay, you look at how much Activision actually owns, though, and it's wild. So they have Infinity Ward, Treyarch, and Sledgehammer, which are the principal, and Raven, which are the principal Call of Duty developers. They each have a support studio that helps them.
Mm-hmm.
Toys for Bob, which works on Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, but has now been sucked into the Call of Duty machine also, by the way. That's all Activision itself makes anymore is Call of Duty, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else has been put on ice that they own. So, hey, you might see some classic franchises come back.
Yeah.
Blizzard, which obviously has, StarCraft, Warcraft, Overwatch, Diablo, and they've got some new IP in development. So you have the biggest MMO in the world over there also. Like, at a certain point, your games are going to start cannibalizing each other because you have too many of one kind. Like, this will be your second MMO that you now have, in addition to ESO.
Mm-hmm.
You have, like, almost every major first-person shooter in the world under your brand, because guess what? You were one of the only companies that got that right for a long time. So,
Yeah.
you've got Halo, you've got Doom, you've got Wolfenstein, you've got Overwatch. It starts adding Call of Duty. It starts adding up really quickly. You have the entire mobile suite, which we talked about. And in addition to that, you also own some esports stuff. You have Call of Duty League and Overwatch League now, too.
Yep.
That's a lot of employees. That is 17,000 employees. That is what I will say, the thing that, if this goes through, I think that it's not only, I mean, not just the purchase itself, that'll be a landmark moment for this industry. You have the potential to turn this into a really good thing, though, in terms of labor relations, because Raven, specifically the QA team for Warzone, has been unionizing, and Bobby Kotick has been trying to union bust that one. There's a whole saga going on with that. This was coming out while all the sexual assault stuff was going down at Blizzard, by the way.
Yep.
Like, if the first real union in gaming comes out of this and is allowed to be, and Phil Spencer's already said that that they will voluntarily recognize that they are not going to fight it at all. Great. That is a huge step for an industry that desperately needs that. That's a huge step. And if that leads to more of that leads to like them and ZeniMax unionizing. Great. Fantastic. That is a huge chunk of the industry then that is doing that. And you would have one of the three major platform holders supporting it, saying, go for it. Go for it. But again, we won't be able to know what the effects of this are on this industry for at least 5 to 10 years. You cannot project that out. Mm-hmm. Like, the FTC is opposing it based on just Call of Duty. The UK is at least looking forward and being like, cloud. They're like them and Nvidia are it for cloud right now. Like, Google's already been run out of town. Amazon's not doing much better. Sony hasn't even started, basically. What do we do? Like, what are you going to do here? So they're trying to project 5-10 years down the road, and who knows? Like, who knows? I also find it hilarious. This is my last note on this whole thing. Over 1 million documents were sent in from Microsoft and from Xbox to be scrutinized in all of this, and not in a single one did they find evidence that Phil Spencer and Xbox were scheming to keep Call of Duty off any platform at all. 1 million documents, and it was nowhere in writing. That's incredible. That's absolutely incredible to me, because I'm sure somebody would have fucked up at some point.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
At some point. But hey, that's what you hire the best lawyers in the business for. We got a bunch of other questions, though, so let's move on. Cade's Ace in the Hole asks, with the hints that Savathun is coming back, and given the hints shown that she may be fighting alongside us, what enemy from Destiny lore or gameplay would you most want to fight alongside with? Riven of 1,000 Voices. I want to ride an Ahamkara into battle.
Yeah, that'd be
Let me
pretty
do it.
sick.
Dude,
That'd be pretty sick.
so Ahamkaras are so big, what if you had a boss battle that took place on the back of an Ahamkara?
That'd be pretty fucking sick.
I played a lot of Zelda recently, so...
I can tell.
I played a lot of Zelda and a lot of Final Fantasy. Dragons are on the mind right now.
Dragons are on the mind. I don't know, probably... Well, I don't know. I could go either way. I could say good guy Jaron Ward, or I could be like, I want to fucking kill some bitches with Dredge and Yor.
I mean, it does specifically say what enemy, and Jaron Ward was not an enemy.
Oh, does it say enemy?
It does say
enemy. Lysander from Concordat. I don't know if anyone knows about that because that's old lore and it is very, yeah. If y'all don't know about Lysander, look it up. I probably said Jaron Ward when I said that the first time, but I mean Lysander from Concordat.
I'm just gonna say, man, if I can pick anybody, you better pull my boy Shin off the bench. Like, yeah. Every hunter wants to throw down with Shin at their back.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sick nasty. I'd get behind that.
It would be pretty stick nasty. Tiger Jesus writes in, if raids had alternate versions, which would you rather have? A Vex Network version of Vogue or a Lucent Hive King's Fall?
Oh my god. Oh, wow, that is a question.
I'm gonna be a glutton for punishment here, and I'm gonna say something that I'm pretty sure I'm hearing Sammy scream from across the ocean at me for. Give me a Lucent Hive King's Fall, but specifically, I want the knights that you have to fight in the Oryx room that are the Lightbearer knights. Mm-hmm. I want those to be Lucent Hive knights.
Mm.
I want you to have to get in there and get the finishers on those ghosts. While everything else is going on, mind you.
That seems a little rough. I'll pass on that one. I'll go Vex Network simply because seeing all of the...
That could be really cool.
Visually, that'd be fucking sick.
Visually that may cause somebody to have a seizure, but in the words of Lord Farquaad, that is a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
Yep. I agree. I'll seize up to fight some fucking Vex Network Atheon ass.
Oh my god, dude! I need Elsie and Anna helping out in there. Hell yeah! My boy Mithrax providing the comms.
Hell yeah!
Let's go! Let's
do
it. Suze writes in with a couple questions. First question: what's one boss or enemy you think should be brought back into the game in any capacity? So my answer for this would have been Kelgarath, but he's been in a lot of this season. I really like Kelgarath, guys. Kelgarath is a really cool character. Cool. I would like to see they're only in the lore, but I'd like to know what happened with the Acolytes of Nezarec. I think that could be something fun for post Final Shape.
Yeah, that could be interesting.
Mm-hmm. I gotta see Rufus, man. I gotta know, why is it called Rufus's Fury? I gotta know.
He's just a big angry dude. He's mad. He's not a happy man. Boss or enemy? Oh god, it's kind of rough. There's so many like people and things we fought and like not liked. Brought back in any capacity. The fucking future war cult bitch, so I can shoot her in the face and kill her again.
Funny enough, we're gonna talk Lakshmi in the next couple of weeks because of the Vex containment stuff. Ronnie sent me a video with all the recordings so far, so I can actually listen to them and not have to go sit and listen to them for like an hour in game.
Damn.
I did the first one and never went back, and apparently they've kept doing them every week.
Damn. Well, boss or enemy? I don't know. Anything Vex. Vex are fucking cool. I'll fight Vex all day.
The Vex basically have to be where we're going after this.
Oh, yeah.
That's got to be like the next saga is the Mystery of the Vex. As far as I'm concerned. Suze also asks, what's you guys' theory, considering any new info we may have gained from the last bits of the season, on what's going to go into Cade's return?
Ooh,
I think it's pretty clear that Cade is a spirit. He's a ghost.
yeah.
My personal theory, I don't remember if I've shared it on the show or not. I've slept not much, but I've slept a little in the last couple of months. Is that I think that what we're seeing is an apparition of Cade inside, obviously inside of the Traveler, and I think that's like an area where like those who are deceased in the light, aka their ghosts have been killed. I think that's where they go. You were raised in the light. Why would the light not keep you? Essentially,
Yeah. Yeah.
I think of him as a Force ghost. He's basically Qui-Gon Jinn.
Qui-Gon Jinn, but witty.
Qui-Gon 6.
Qui-Gon 6. I can get behind that.
No Liam Neeson though, sadly.
Yeah.
Do you have any thoughts on this one, Fox?
Um, on Cade's
I
return, I
suspect we're going to
think,
know
yeah,
more in about
I'm pretty
38
sure
days.
yeah, I think it's going to be a Force Ghost. But you never know. I mean,
I do, to be clear, I do think that we find a way to bring him back.
yeah.
Um,
It's
to
obviously
life.
not going to be Cade 7.
No,
That's
I
not going
think
to
it's
happen.
actually Cade 6. I think we
Yeah.
find a way to bring him back post final shape, especially considering Zavala won't be in the story anymore, presumably.
Yeah.
And Suze also asks, do you think before we potentially bring back Savathun, Bungie is going to have us go on a quest to find Imaru, or do you think they'll just give him to us? I hope that this is a mission. I hope this is the opening mission of the season, honestly. I see no reason why it wouldn't be. You're going to have to convince him to work with you.
Yeah. Well,
Because,
they said that we're going to have to lay out a trap.
yeah, I suspect that that's probably going to be the first mission of the season, and we're going to be building towards Savathun's return. I really hope she's not brought back in like the first week or two. I want that to be like a season-long thing, maybe even be like the end of the season mission that we get is bringing her back.
Well, there was
Um,
a mission where we've already trapped Amaru once, so
yeah, and I mean, I've seen people go like, "Oh, well, how are you going to get Savathun to go along with you?" It's called the Guardian holds onto Amaru's shell and threatens to squish him if he does anything fuckery.
well, I believe we talked about this last week.
Mm-hmm.
The the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and Savathun fucking hates the Witness so much. So I think we'll see eye to eye. I said this last week. I did actually. I think we'll see Savathun be like, "All right, I'm going to help you kill the Witness, but after this, we need to go take care of things with my mother." And I still can't remember her fucking name. In another system, essentially. I don't think we'll go as far as Andromeda. That seems a bit much, but I think we'll see a different star
I mean,
system or something.
we're leaving Sol. I'm fairly certain we're leaving Sol.
Yeah. Well, we'll
Um,
probably stay within the Milky Way, but I don't think we're going to a different galaxy.
no, I would really like to go to Reese above all else.
Oh yeah,
Um,
Reese and Fundament.
I'm curious if Savathun makes it out of the Light and Dark saga because I think her and Zivu are gonna throw down.
Yeah.
And I can only hope that I get to watch it happen.
Yes.
The Guardian
Yes.
is just standing by with a gun, and it's like a fucking Kostov, and Zivu Rath's gonna be like, "Oh, what are you planning on doing with that? Putting your ass in the gun."
Like fucking Transformer style. You're just Sam Witwicky, and behind you's fucking Megatron and Optimus
Samuel Witwicky, put the cube into my chest.
just fucking duking it out behind you. That'd be sick as fuck.
Man, okay, so we recently rewatched the trilogy of those movies, the first three. I've
Good.
never watched
Good.
4 and 5, and I never will.
Don't.
But how much do you think John Turturro made from being in these movies?
Honestly, not enough.
Do you think that he regrets this? Do you think Steven Spielberg regrets being the producer on these movies?
I don't know.
It's, after all, it is his fault that Shia LaBeouf was Sam Witwicky.
Yeah, but I don't think I could have picked a better person from that time period. Well, who would you have liked to see? Fucking Jonah Hill?
I mean, so fun fact, Jonah Hill was supposed to be the annoying roommate in Revenge of the Fallen, and Seth Rogen urged him not to take the role.
Of course.
That's actually hilarious to me. But that Steven Spielberg liked working with Shia LaBeouf so much on Kingdom of the Crystal Skull that he recommended him to be Sam.
Yeah,
That is
now
hilarious to me.
Shia LaBeouf is doing side quests and shit. Um, yeah.
Oh, I don't even know if you can. I don't even know if you can call it a side quest of what he's doing. I just
He's
have you ever seen some of the ridiculous shit they wanted to do in that first movie? They wanted to have a fight at the Grand Canyon, and they
yeah.
originally
There's
didn't.
some
The
out of the box shit.
Transformers originally didn't talk in the first draft of the movie.
No.
Imagine not having Optimus Prime and Megatron talk during the fight.
I am Optimus. That'd be shitty, dude.
You're gonna make a Transformers movie and not have Peter fucking Cullen in it? Like, what? No.
So
No.
I
I
don't
would have
know.
only accepted it if there was more Stan Rush.
I don't want to watch the new one because they redesigned Optimus, and I am
I also
not
like
okay
I
with
just
it.
want to know, like, how did you make 3 straight Transformers movies? And I know they've made another 4 since. God, they made another
Yeah,
4. I did watch Bumblebee and I really liked it for
I
what
have
it's worth.
not seen it yet.
I enjoyed it. John Cena and Haley Steinfeld feel at home in a Transformers movie.
Really?
Yeah, it was fun. It was a nice little
Hmm.
80s film. It was nice. I will say, how did you make 7 Transformers movies and Stan Bush's The Touch never made it into a Transformers movie? How?
Couldn't tell you, brother.
Because that's the single best scene of fucking Transformers 1986 is Hot Rod picking up the Matrix, becoming Rodimus Prime. I'm getting really nerdy here, but I fucking love that scene. Anybody who knows Nerd and I know how much we love that scene. We
Yeah,
love that movie.
nerd out a little bit, just a little bit.
Fucking, it's fucking
Yeah,
great. I have a Rodimus Prime on my desk right now that I'm looking at.
of course you
I
do.
fucking love Transformers 86. It traumatized me as a kid. I had to watch Optimus Prime die as a kid. It was horrifying. And, then I got to see, Hot Rod become my favorite Transformer. So it's all good. Our last question tonight comes from Sammy. We already answered Sammy's second question, which was about the difficulty in the game. Sammy asks, what's one thing from Destiny's past you would most want to see return on the 10th anniversary of the game?
Trevor.
All right, this podcast is over, everybody.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
The tormentor in the Wicked Implement mission really reminded me of Trevor, except if Trevor was scarier.
I don't know. Trevor's pretty fucking terrifying.
Trevor's pretty fucking scary. You're not wrong on that one, brother. I don't know. If it's not brought back this year, I would like to see Crota completely redone, like maybe with the Lucent Hive as enemies in it.
Yeah, that'd be
I think
great.
that could be really cool. I would say King's Fall. King's Fall is back already. I guess it kind of depends on what D1 raid is not back this year. That would be my answer. Just bring one of those back. But I mean, at the same time, I'd also like all the content that I've paid for in Destiny 2 to be brought back.
Mm-hmm.
So, I want all the old strikes. I want the old zones. I want the old missions. The stories. Bring that stuff back, man.
Yeah,
I'm tired of having to explain this to everybody. It's really hard to sell new people on this game.
I agree with the stuff that we paid for. So the biggest one for me, it's gonna sound fucking stupid. Specifically, the corridors of time and the sundial. Fucking.
I mean, that's fair. That's
woo, woo. Best in-game fucking thing that they've ever done. It was like the perfect seasonal activity, the perfect hidden little thing, the infinite for. I'm just vexing out. I fucking love the Vex. I will never stop singing the praises of the Vex. They're fucking cool. The Leviathan would be cool to have back. Maybe explore it a little bit more, open it up. Plaguelands, just destinations in general. As far as weapons, not Icebreaker. I think that's a little. That would break the fucking game. I don't know any weapons I'd like to see return specifically. Maybe I don't know, Zen Meteor maybe. Because that was cool. The concept was cool, but it didn't work.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see stuff from Destiny 1 come back. I'd like to see the remaining strikes come back, obviously. Um, I don't see any harm in trying to bring those back. I just think like if you're gonna do it, you have to do it all the way.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, and I mean I've made my beliefs clear, and I think we're gonna get some clarity on it maybe within the next couple of weeks, as we lead into the next showcase.
yeah,
I think we're gonna get some clarity on like what the future looks like, future and past kind of meshing together. But I'd like to see some stuff along those lines. We got one final discussion we're gonna have before we get on out of here. Let me check our time, and make sure we're okay. Yeah, we got enough time.
we got
We can do
time.
this. We can do this. Well, I have a limit to how long I can record for. We were going to talk a little bit about seasonal weapons tonight, and kind of save this for the end. Unintentionally, I meant to do this before questions, but also because, like, in terms of a seasonal weapon suite, is this the weakest one we've had in a while?
Yeah,
I think I have to go all the way back to Plunder to think of a seasonal suite I haven't liked. Well, I mean, that's only like, I'm only skipping back 3 seasons, right? But
yeah.
it's kind of hard for me. Like, this isn't the running for, like, most disappointing weapon suite, I think.
I mean, it's just all returning weapons.
Like, and I like, don't get me wrong, I'm okay with the returning weapons, and I really enjoy that the Gambit Prime ornaments work with the taken weapons. I think that's actually a really
Yep.
cool effect. But I'm struggling to find. I like the Strand Shoddy, but outside of that, I don't think I'm really like in love with any of the other weapons. The SMG is fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
The
Well, Bug
pulse,
Out Bag has always been good, so.
the pulse is fine. You know, Outlast doesn't really thrill me, but I like the Strand version of the pulse.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody cares about the sword. Not a
Oh,
single
no.
person cares about this sword.
Yeah, but it's the
I
most
liked it because
common
I thought it
drop.
looked cool back in the day.
Yeah.
And it still does look cool. I want to be really clear about that. What else do we have for weapons? We have those four, and then
The hand cannon.
Oh yeah.
There's the pulse, hand cannon, shotgun, SMG, the sniper, and the sword.
The sniper, that's what I was thinking of. The sniper and the hand cannon. So the hand cannon, I understand why. If you're into hand cannons, I understand why you would like this. I am not a hand cannon person personally.
Honestly, it's all forgettable.
At this point, I think that there's so many better sniper options than Soul Survivor.
Yeah. Hell, I think even the new comp sniper's fucking good. I like that one.
I haven't gotten an earned one yet. I need to, but I haven't.
Don't. Comp is not fun.
I want a couple rolls of them. That's all I want. So
yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty disappointing this time around. I mean, hopefully next season is not lacking too hard.
I'm bummed because like when I told you I needed you to come sit in tonight, I was like, oh yeah, let's talk about the seasonal weapons. And the more I was playing this afternoon, and I was like, damn, I'm using the pulse, but I have better weapons with hatchling.
Yeah,
I'm really just using it because I think it looks cool. Like I have better pulse rifles. I definitely have better strand weapons. That shotgun is about the only thing that I really, really like. Because I think for primary shoddy, it's pretty good. I like running around with it, but even then, like I have yet to find a role that I'm in love with.
So I'm gonna break this down right quick. You want a good pulse rifle? You use fucking Graviton Lance. It's killing in the Crucible right now.
Well, yeah, okay. Listen, like you're talking to a guy who loves pulse rifles. I was trying to give this one a shot. I think it looks cool. I'm not trying too hard this season. I don't know, like maybe it's just my general apathy towards this, like towards the game in general right now. Like I don't even want to say that it's a bad season. I genuinely don't believe it's a bad season.
It's not. It's a great season.
I just think
story wise, fucking new content wise, it's great.
But I'm so fucking burned on the seasonal model at this point, though.
Yeah, but they're starting to change it, and you can see hints of it changing.
They are. I think, for example, like how this is going to turn from weapons into just like thoughts on the season. Now that it's essentially over. I think that the way that they did the upgrades, the vendor upgrades, was really good this season.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that forever. I liked that I could look at them at any time and see what I needed to do to unlock them. I really enjoyed that. I didn't have to like do bullshit challenges and have another currency to turn in and this and that.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. I didn't have to go kill myself on certain things. I just earned it by naturally playing the game.
Yeah.
I enjoyed that. I like that I had all my upgrades by the beginning of week 3. Like a day into week 3, I had all my upgrades.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of making me wait until like week 6 or 7 to have everything, because they want to artificially time gate, and then by then we're all annoyed with the season and don't want to play anymore.
Yeah.
I would say, like, I guess for me, this is the furthest I've ever gotten into a season where I have not hit level 100.
Yeah.
I have never made it this far. We're 60 days in. We're 60, maybe slightly over 60 days in. I hit level 90 earlier today, and that's because I have played a lot in the last week. I played a lot with the double rep last weekend,
Mm-hmm.
trying to desperately get any of my ranks high enough to get last right. And I'm playing some Iron Banner this week because I got to get that sick emblem. But this season isn't really doing it for me. And like, I've enjoyed the story and playing it. I played through a lot. I played through almost the entire story last night and today again. And I was just like, man, I can understand why this gets on people's nerves if you miss a week. Because then
Yeah.
you're like, oh my God, okay, well, I'm doing a deep dive. Then I got to go do this. Then I got to go back to the deep dive. Then I got to do this. Oh, hey, maybe I get a mission. Oh, it's really just a deep dive.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
there's a
all
lot of.
it's all just the same.
It's very monotonous and very, very aggravating. But we got through it in a couple of hours. We got through it in like 2 hours, which I do enjoy. I
Yeah.
enjoy the speed at which you can get through the stuff once it's out. But then it's really hard to motivate myself to like want to go do other things. Like, I was last week, I was like level 60 something in the
Mm-hmm.
pass. And I went up that high that quickly because I had all the challenges. I had like 50 challenges stored up that I needed to work on. And now I'm down to like 15 of them. Like, I was just blowing through them playing normally.
Yeah.
And I guess I just say all that to say, like, I feel really disconnected with the game in a way that I haven't in a while. And I'll expand on this probably next week because Solstice is coming and I will not miss a chance to complain about Solstice.
Yeah.
Um, I think that also the lack of like weapons that I care about to chase this season. I mean, there's two of each weapon, right? Because there's the Gambit Prime weapons and then there's the new versions.
Yeah.
The fact that I just don't care about any of them really is pretty telling. There's usually a couple weapons I want to chase, like at least get the patterns for and craft them and play around with them. I've got the patterns unlocked and I just don't care.
Yeah. Like
And it's
last season, it was the fusion.
mhm.
Fusion was phenomenal. It is
I
so
mean,
good.
the fusion was good. We went through where Regnant was really good there for a while.
Yeah.
Everybody was rushing to get Regnant. The auto rifle was good. Like if you had, I think Rufus's is better, but the auto rifle was good.
Yeah.
I this season I have not felt I need to chase any of those weapons. Even I kind of feel that way about the dungeon weapons too. I don't really feel like I needed to chase anything.
Okay. Now hold up. Hold up. That SMG is fucking amazing. That
The
is
SMG
probably
is the
among the
SMG is
best
good.
SMGs in the game right now.
It is. I mean, so when I say I don't have anything to chase, it's because I got the literal god roll on my first drop.
Okay, well, that's different.
So
That changes it.
I
So
I I got it, but it's like also at the same time, like I have all the upgraded perks on a crafted callus mini tool.
yeah,
Like,
I'm
I
all
mean,
for bringing back old weapons,
yep.
but if you're going to reprise weapons, make them something good. Bring back Breakneck, Exit Strategy, Redrix's, fucking not Luna's Howling Not Forgotten. That's a little too much. But bring
So
these back and give them random rolls.
I do think that we're pretty rapidly progressing towards that. I was having that conversation earlier today with a friend, and I says like I think that especially with like seeing like Loaded Question brought back this season, for example, as a Nightfall weapon, and we've seen Buzzard come back, we've seen Swarm come back. I'm
Yeah.
really hoping that, or not Swarm, Wendigo come back.
Yeah.
I'm really hoping that we're going to get to a point where we start getting some of these maybe not the Crucible weapons might not be able to come back honestly, but I think like at least Komodo come back. Breakneck, like you said, Exit Strategy, Python.
The oxygen scout rifle.
Oh
That
my
thing
god,
had a perk that was so good, and it's
it
gone.
wasn't good. Yeah, it only became good once they nerfed once they sunset weapons. Yeah.
Yep.
What's the other one? Hush could come back as a bow.
Yeah.
These are weapons that I would like to see come back, like whether they're drops from the activity or they're honestly, like if you're really going to do a season where you're committing to working on the core activities later on this year, make the weapons that we earn from the seasonal storyline, make part of them older weapons with random drops. They
Yeah.
don't need to be craftable, but like give us two from each activity or something. Or
Yeah.
since we've gotten so many of the Vanguard ones, give us 3 and 3. Give me give me Komodo, give me Lunatal with random rolls. Give it to me.
But there's a
And
line.
and then give me Redrix's,
There's a line, right? So you've got your good perks like Breakneck. It
Yeah.
had Rampage that stacked 3 times. That's
Mm-hmm.
fucking insane. And then you had just ridiculously overpowered weapons like the Mountaintop.
The
That is a
recluse.
weapon. Those are weapons that should never come back.
No. I would say, I would honestly go so far as to say I think those two are probably the only two that you don't bring back
Yeah,
at some point.
I'd be okay with Revoker. Revoker is
So
good.
Revoker, they've already brought back Revoker. They just called it Beloved. It's basically the
Yeah,
same thing.
but if you
I
have
would be
Mulligan on it,
I would be okay with you bringing back a couple weapons, and like again, if you're doing random rolls, it doesn't fucking matter,
yeah,
right? I give, and then you could easily have Exit Strategy, Python, and Breakneck as your three
yeah,
Gambit weapons. I think that you could easily do a season, or throw Hush in there for one of if you want another weapon with range. Like, there's plenty of things you can do here, and I really hope that they do that sooner rather than later, because I think a lot of those weapons got overlooked because we were like, oh, you're not Mountaintop Recluse.
yeah,
Um,
pretty much
and I mean that was king in PvE and PvP for like
ever,
6-7 months. Yeah, for a well, probably longer than that.
way
Probably
longer.
for a full year. And you combine that on top of super metas that there were in PvP, and yeah, it was really aggravating to play against. I think that if you're going to do a season where you're going to do maintenance, like that would be a good opportunity to bring some of that stuff back. But like I remember last year, I Haunted did it right. You got the opulent weapons.
Mm-hmm.
You got 4 opulent weapons plus another 2 in the dungeon, and you had a full suite from the season. That's how you bring back old weapons. I think so they should have brought back the Gambit Prime weapons like they did this season, but then done 6 different weapons and not just it's the same type of gun, just
Yeah,
like different elements. And I know that there are more different. John, I know you're listening to this and you're screaming internally at me. I know there are more differences and there's more nuance to it than that. But to sum it up like that, I really wish they had just been different types of weapons. I wish that, like, okay, we didn't need 2 shotties, 2 SMGs, 2
yeah,
pulses in a season. Give me those, and then like, yeah, if there is a crossover, fine. But like, give me something we haven't seen in a while. Give me, I don't know, give me a Taken Bow. A Taken Bow would have been really cool.
yeah.
I don't know.
I think
There's
I think
things
that's
to
my
complain
biggest
of.
gripe.
There's things worth complaining about, and there's things that are just like, okay, you're nitpicking. I'm at a point where like I'd rather see new stuff, or if you're going to bring old stuff back, it needs to have random rolls. I don't want to see any more like, oh well, this used to be a Vanguard weapon in year 1. Like, no, bring back the old pinnacles with random rolls, because y'all yanked that stuff away from us. Give me
Yep.
the stuff from Season of Dawn back that you took away from me. It's one of the only weapon foundries we can't use in the game anymore, and they were some of the best weapons we've ever had, by the way. Like,
Absolutely.
bring that shit back. Give me back my Breachlight and give me back my Patron. Like, I want those 2 guns back very badly. 2 of my favorite primaries ever.
Yep.
But like, I have to I'm gonna foolishly cling to a hope for another couple of weeks that the reason why we're not seeing some of that stuff back, and like maybe not seeing the Black Armory stuff back, is because they plan to bring that content back
And
in
I
some way,
hope they
shape, or
do.
form.
I
And
really
I
hope
hope
they do.
so. But if you're taking requests, Spongy, if you're listening, that's what I want for the final season. Next season, I want to see some Black Armory shit.
I
If we're about to fight the Witness in the Traveler Sea, I need to have the best weapons forge supposedly in the lore at my back.
I definitely think we're going to see some big 10th anniversary stuff being announced at this showcase. More than
But they
just
but
the
they won't
final
announce
stage.
it though. They won't announce it though, because the actual 10th anniversary year doesn't start until September 2024.
Yeah, but
So
I
that's my
I
thing.
look
Like,
for big big things to be said, like, hey, this is in the works. We want you to be
So
in the
what I
know about
hope they announce, kind of my last thought of the night, I guess. What I hope they come out and announce is how they're going to do the seasonal structure next year, because I think again it desperately needs to change. And I don't think that three or four seasons post final shape is going to work for keeping your player base to lead into whatever the next Destiny saga is, which is going to have to be current gen only.
it.
I really think that what you need to do is come out and say, "Hey, we've heard the critiques about seasons not having enough content and about not having enough to chase, and this and that." I would really love to see them now taking what they've learned now from seasons and applying it back to the two mini expansions that they used to do with like Dark Below and House of Wolves, and then Curse of Osiris and Warmind. And I know those are basically akin to like cursing your mother, but hear me out for a second. What if you took what you've learned from those and you did mini expansions? And you really, maybe you have like a little season, like a little wrap up season that you attach on to Final Shape, right? And maybe that comes with it, regardless if you buy it, so you're getting all the story no matter what. But the next two are starting to set the year two expansions are starting to set the stage for what's coming next. You drop one in May and you drop one in like October or something,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or you drop one in May and you say, hey, we're not going to release the next one until like November, December time because we want to do a big 10th anniversary celebration. It's going to be like it's like a $10 add-on, but we're going to have more activities with the 9. We're going to get really wacky, and we want to bring a lot of Destiny 1 content back to you guys to give you the most complete version of Destiny that we've ever done. Something like that, I would be totally on board for, and I'd be totally willing to pay up front for a season pass. I'm not going to buy the season pass version of the game because I think for $100, I'm still getting a lot of value out of that personally. But I understand why that is such a hard sell to some people now.
Yeah.
I see it as I'm getting the expansion, I'm getting 2 raids, I'm getting 2 dungeons, I'm getting 4 seasons worth of content, I'm getting 4 season passes, I'm getting all these armor sets that I can't get anywhere else. I'm getting weapon ornaments, I'm getting emotes, I'm getting all this bright dust. Like I am getting my value personally out of it. Even if I'm playing less, I'm still going to get my value out of this. Even if I play as much as I played this season, which is not a whole lot, I still think over the course of a year, I would get $100 worth of value out of this game because I enjoy the universe so much. But there comes a time where the model has to change, and I think we're there now. Like we need to know the future plans for like, okay, what are the platforms going to be going forward? Because it's very clear that something is wrong on the back end. Very clear. And the
Yeah.
explanation we got a couple weeks ago was a step in the right direction, but there's something bigger going on, and I kind of think they owe it to us to tell us, like, hint at least what their strategy is for beyond this. Like, if you're going to make a Destiny 3, stop dancing around it and saying, oh, yeah, we're committed to Destiny 2 forever. You literally cannot be committed to this game in the state that it's in. You can't be. There is no more room for it.
Mm-hmm.
And we just want the content that we paid for back. That's all we want. It's going to be the end. We just want the content back. That's all we want. If you're gonna start a new saga, give me another game, but please keep my shit. Please let me do like a one-time transfer, like GTA Online has done or something.
Yeah.
Bring all my shit over. Please have existing content still available, like via the cloud to download. But let me keep my shit and let me keep going. But it has to be for current gen only, and you need to future-proof it in advance. It needs to be, and I'm not going to be one of those. Oh, go to Unreal 5 because it's not that easy. It's not easy at all, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I'm armchair developing. I'm getting upset. We're gonna end there.
Sounds good.
We're gonna end there tonight. Fox, thank you for joining me so last minute for
You're very
tonight's
welcome.
episode. I know it was chaotic for you this evening. It's been chaotic for me. My eyes are killing me, so I'm going to go lay in a dark room with ice over my eyes. I want to thank everybody for watching and or listening to this episode of Tower Casuals. As always, you can find us published every Friday whenever Corey gets it uploaded. Corey usually uploads it before he goes to bed. I typically do it when I wake up the next morning. So if you're listening to this, it's Friday morning at the very least. You can join us in the Discord. Come to the Discord. Come to the Tower Casuals Discord and be a part of the show. Submit your questions. Join in some discussions. Find some LFGs. Journey with the Misadventure crew into a raid of your choosing. We've got it all going on in there. And until next time, and next week, we will see you Starside.